Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ranger Trust. But I'm Philip. Today's Saturday, and that means that it's time for a Lost Lantern Saturday. Last week on the wheel, we spun up St. Augustine Distillery from the Discovery Club, which is a cool program. I'll probably talk a little bit about that after I get some tasting notes in. But first, if you want to support this channel, because such things as this Discovery Club bottling are bottles that I buy for myself out of my own pocket, you can purchase a $25 French oak barrel stave ballpoint twist pen from my Etsy shop. There's a link in the description down below. The barrel held cognac for 45 years before being used to finish a peated American single malt whiskey in the Pacific Northwest. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. This is 5 years old, out of St. Augustine, Florida. It's bottled at 59% alcohol by volume, or 118 proof. It was aged in a 53-gallon barrel, mash bill of 60% Florida-grown corn, 18% wheat, 18% Florida-grown wheat, and 22% malted barley. So that's a pretty good volume of malted barley in there. On the nose, got some like cocoa notes, some cinnamon, some nutmeg. A little bit of fresh cut green vegetation, a little bit of caramel that's coming up at me that I wasn't expecting. A little bit of don't breathe too deeply, because alcohol fumes on 118 proof, I guess it will catch you in the throat. There's some, like, I'm trying to really identify this note. Like a bright, almost metallic note that kind of pops up into the high notes. A lot of, low bass notes on the nose and mid notes, but a little bit thin on the high notes. So on the palate, some cut vegetation, cinnamon, oak tannins, and then a layer of like a nice rich caramel on top of that, and some like dark cocoa, and a little bit of a cherry note that pops out. Now, they're still present, but they're changed. There are some really bad off notes in the OB St. Augustine straight bourbon whiskey that I have, the distillery bottling. That is why I had a small pour of that and then didn't touch it again for a long time until I got this, and then another small pour of it to put side by side against the St. Augustine Distillery. And I have to say, full disclosure, the distillery bottling that I have, they may have improved drastically since that bottling was released. I would say it's almost undrinkable. It is so heavy on off notes. Just really heavy, fresh cut greens, wet cardboard, so basically cut real deep into the tails, I think, and then didn't put it in a barrel for a very long time, because that's a balancing act. You got to balance those heavy, potent notes that you get when you cut into the tails a bit with what your oak is going to do to a whiskey. And if you err too heavily on the side of, well, we want as much flavor as possible, so we're going to cut farther into the tails, and you put it into a barrel, which will strip out some of those flavors, you can end up with something that is still very heavy on that, like, damp cardboard, musty, and real greenery, and just not a whole lot of, or a lot of off notes that a lot of people don't really appreciate. Um, and there's like that cut vegetation in here. There's a little bit of like just a hint of that like cardboard taste, and a little bit of a metallic note that some would consider an off note. But this is much better balanced with the oak influence. And that's where IBs are kind of cool, because they can take something from a distillery like St. Augustine that is clearly doing good stuff, but maybe they're feeling pressure to release their own bottlings a little bit early, or maybe they've made a whole lot of progress, and maybe I should give their distillery bottlings another try. And they can come out with a fantastic barrel. Now, I will say, full disclosure, if this wasn't a Discovery Club bottling, I probably would have passed on it. Just based on my experience with St. Augustine Distillery. I know one bottle does not a pattern make, but it is notable in my personal opinion that it is notably bad. And I'm an imperfect human, and I don't want to experience bad whiskey. So, but I have a lot of faith in Adam and Nora for their ability to pick exceptional barrels. And I've not had a bottling from them that I don't understand, that I don't enjoy. And spoiler alert, I enjoy this. It's not my favorite Discovery Club bottling. So far, that's tough. So far, that might be either the Baltimore Spirits Company or the Oak and Grist, but that's a tight one. I'll have to go through and try them all again. The Iron Root Republic double barrel bourbon, also very good. I'm getting distracted. The one place where this, I think, falls down a little bit is the finish. The finish is where, like, metallic note kind of pops through a little bit more. So it's that metallic note, and then, like, it's rising up over, like, this bed of, like, cocoa and caramel and cinnamon, and it kind of sticks out a little bit. It's a little bit weird. And also, it's kind of short. It doesn't hang around for long, and that's always unfortunate in my opinion. Now, I always ask and answer 3 questions. This time they're a little bit difficult. Do I enjoy it? Yeah, I do. Are there obvious flaws? Not major ones. Nothing that keeps me from enjoying it. That's for darn sure. It's not my favorite. I think this is far from Lost Lantern's best release, but it is very interesting, and that makes it good to me. Do I think it's a good value? This is a very complicated question, because I am sure for some, $100 for this bottle is worth it. For me, no. But it comes in the context of being in the Discovery Club, where I can get such things as that Baltimore Spirits Company, right, which is fantastic. That Oak and Grist, which is just amazing. Easily could have sat alongside the Scotch Lovers collection. The Santan Spirits Bourbon, which is very interesting and different, and I enjoyed thoroughly. The Iron Root Republic, which is that's not a Discovery Club. Why did I think that was a Discovery Club? Where's the one that I'm thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of the backwards distilling that's like super oaky. That's what I'm thinking of. The backwards distilling is the one that's like super oaky that I really enjoy. Um, there was a J. Rieger that was just very good. It is mostly bourbon, and most of it I'm perfectly happy to say, oh yeah, this is worth the $100 entry fee. Uh, and and also another thing to add on to this is, for the most part, it's from places that I have not heard of, can't get whiskey from. I'd never heard of Santan, for example. I've heard of St. Augustine, but I'd never heard of Pine Bluffs Distilling. This is the latest one. This is 2026 Cask D1. I haven't actually poured more than like literally a couple drops in a glass to get it onto my tongue to taste it, because I was excited, because this is a little bit different. Yeah. Corn, malted wheat, malted barley. That's kind of cool. I'm getting distracted. There are so many cool things that Lost Lantern does, and the Discovery Club gives you an opportunity to try things that you would not otherwise have an opportunity to try, or that might change your mind about a distillery. I'm definitely interested in trying a more recent bottling of St. Augustine Distilling, you know, St. Augustine Distillery from them, rather than just looking at this bottle that I have. It's probably a couple years old, and going, I did not enjoy this at all. I'm not going to pour anymore. I'm not going to drink anymore. That's not true. I will, probably, eventually. But it's, you know, this makes you want to try more from St. Augustine. And that brings me to the third and final question. Do I recommend it? I recommend a Discovery Club. At the end of the day, that's sort of, the big, not big deal or big caveat, but that's sort of the thing that I'm really reviewing when I'm talking about the Discovery Club releases, because they all fit into the context of the club releases and the whiskey market as a whole. I mean, everything, it should be viewed, in that sort of, in that light, that, it's within the context of market and availability and whatnot. And within the grand scheme of the Discovery Club, do I think this is the best one? No. It's the least interesting to me, apart from the fact that it made me think about St. Augustine again. And that makes it worth its while to me, because it's part of it. It's discovery. It's getting to try things that you wouldn't normally try, whether by choice or because it's just not an option. Um, and I think that's, at the end of the day, that's the thing that really matters. Now, just real quick, I'm going to. Sorry, the screen just wobbled. I'm going to do my sales pitch again. If you want to support this channel, of course, always like, comment, subscribe, costs nothing. Sharing with your friends who might be interested in discovering new whiskey also costs nothing. Great ways to support this channel. But if you want to support us monetarily, $25 ballpoint twist pence turned from a French oak barrel held cognac for 45 years before being used to finish a peated American single malt whiskey in the Pacific Northwest. And I have a TeePublic store where I have shirt designs, and there are going to be more coming. Probably in April, I'm going to be dropping some 2026 Virginia Whiskey Tournament t-shirt designs, and sticker and hat and whatnot. And hopefully I'll be able to use proceeds from the sale of those items to fund the purchase of the 2026 Virginia Whiskey Tournament trophy, which will be, as always, a Jefferson Cup that says 2026 Virginia Whiskey Champion. I think that covers almost everything. All that is left to do is spin the wheel. I had to redo this one again. It happens. I just had to add 2026 D1. Ooh. Ooh, where did I put that one? Where did I put that one? Oh, I see it. It's up high. I'm not getting that down yet. This is cool. This is extremely cool. And we'll talk about it more next Saturday. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for tuning in. The show wouldn't be as much fun if it wasn't for an audience that I get to interact with. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about, independent bottling, the Discovery Club, I'm down to answer questions. I will even pose questions to, pardon me, Adam and Nora. They're in the middle of a busy period right now, so I won't do it right now, but I will ask them questions on your behalf if you would like. If you have life advice questions, I'll answer those in the comments below too, but they're not going to be good or useful answers. Anyway, I'm burning time, so until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's been great talking to you. Stay happy, stay geeks. Sláinte.